Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the latest episode of Gills in the Blood TV. It's Monday review time. It's Bank Holiday Monday. I hope you are all enjoying your extended break. If you're at work, I do apologise and feel for you. I did 7 years in hospitality. Unfortunately though, for all of us as Gills fans, the weekend was ruined by the result at Shrewsbury Town on Saturday afternoon, with the Gills going down 2-1, despite taking the lead in the first half via a Jack Tucker header. Also got to meet up with Ollie, who runs the Salop cast, a Shrewsbury Town podcast, which is very good. It was great to meet Ollie in the flesh. Also Dan Huff, who helped me out with the match preview last week. Great to meet him at full time as well. Obviously both were in a better mood than myself come 5 p.m. But let's get right into the nitty gritty of Saturday's fixture. I thought first half we started really brightly. I was a little bit surprised at the change of system. I had it down as a 4-4-2 diamond with Reece Bennett at the base when I released the team news on Twitter on Saturday afternoon at about 2 p.m. But we certainly lined up as a back three. So it was Reece Bennett next to Jack Tucker and Max Amar as three central defensive players. And then we had natural width provided by Robbie McKenzie at left wing back and more notably Ryan Jackson on the other side of the pitch. And for the first 35 minutes, we were absolutely spot on. We was pinging it about, we was getting it down, we was getting it into feet to the likes of Carl Dempsey. We was getting Daniel Adseed on the ball and he was picking out passes. Daniel Phillips returning to the starting 11 was very industrious, working hard, putting his foot in and getting us ticking over and recycling possession. Up front, Vadaine Oliver was providing a threat in the air and Mustafa Carriol was threatening to get in behind next to him. And yeah, like I say, we scored a very good opener. It was decent passage of play, I think, in the lead up to the corner, which Carl Dempsey whipped in. Or out swinging, and Jack Tucker met it with a powerful header, which Marco Morosi got a hand to, but couldn't keep it out in the Shrewsbury goal right in front of us. And at that point, up until the break, I thought we were relatively comfortable, certainly till the turning point, which for me was Ryan Jackson's injury. It looked like he pulled a thigh, attempting a shot in front of us. He had to be replaced by David Tutonda, himself coming back from a dead leg that was suffered on Tuesday night in the League Cup defeat to Cheltenham on penalties. So Robbie McKenzie switched sides. And for me, we became easier to play against then. I like Robbie McKenzie. He'll do a job wherever he plays for you, but he's not a dynamic wing-back like Ryan Jackson. And all of a sudden, our outball and our width and our pace disappeared. We still had Carriol on the pitch, but obviously he was playing very narrow up top next to Big V. And then Daniel Adseed a couple of times got a bit slack in possession. There was one particular error where he played a really short back pass. Luckily, Jamie Cumming got him out of jail and managed to come out and clear it. And we got in at the break 1-0 up. Second half, didn't get started, did we, unfortunately? We let them play. We dropped off. We allowed them too much time and space. The equaliser is a really good goal, in fairness. You can't take anything away from the lad. Tom blocks them. Ball bounces around in our box. I think there's a foul, I think by Sam Cosgrove on Jack Tucker in the build-up. Looks like he's pulled down as he tries to head it clear and his header doesn't go as far as I think he intended, but from there blocks and takes over. It's wonderful technique from just inside the 18-yard box. Overhead kick. Jamie Cumming gets absolutely nowhere near it as it drops into the top corner. And it had been coming, and you have to give fair play to Salop, because this is a side we have to remember that hadn't scored a goal, hadn't earned a point before kick-off. But it changed their mentality. All of a sudden, they thought they were Brazil, they were knocking it about, they were pushing us back. We weren't really doing enough to stop that. And 1 quickly became 2, or relatively quickly anyway. It's a decent passage of play again. Down there, left-hand side, Carl Dempsey, usually very reliable, switches off, doesn't pick up his runner. Ball comes into the box and it's Cosgrove involved again. It's a smart finish with his left foot into the bottom corner. Jamie Cumming again, absolutely helpless, got nowhere near it as it nestled into the side netting. And from there, it was pretty much a slog, wasn't it? We've got too many players that are clearly not fit. Vadaine Oliver should have been nowhere near the squad. Mustafa Carriol apparently was starting with risks. Daniel Phillips hadn't started since the Plymouth game. Ryan Jackson's been in and out. Robbie McKenzie had no pre-season. David Tutonda come on despite getting injured on Tuesday. We're still missing John Akindi. We're still missing Alex McDonald. And it just looked by the end that we had probably 40% of our team at best running on empty and running on fumes, and at worst being only 60, 70, 80% fit, which means you're going to struggle to win football matches. But we have to give credit to Shrewsbury. Like I say, they were down in the dumps at 3 p.m. and cock a hoop come 5 p.m. with their first goals and their first points of the season. Obviously, one incident at the end, isn't there? with Daniel Phillips making a tackle. Looks like he wins the ball from my view in the stand. Really good tackle. He's already on a yellow card. Their lad, I think it's David Davis, takes exception to it. Sort of leans down towards him. Then another Shrewsbury player appears. It all goes off a bit. There's a bit of handbags. Daniel Phillips gets a yellow card and a red card. I'm assuming he's said something or done something in the aftermath because there was nothing wrong with the tackle. Gets dismissed. Fair enough. We take that. If he said something, then that's a little bit of naivety of youth. David Davis, who's already been booked shortly before for time wasting, gets a yellow card. No red card. And that's where the referee's problems start, because he's had a decent game up until then, the man in the middle. Paul Rayner goes and tells the fourth official with Steve Evans that Davis has been booked twice. Why has he not been sent off? And then we see the footage afterwards. Steve Cotterill comes running into our technical area. There's an exchange of some kind with Paul Rayner, and then Harry Burgoyne, from the distance through the clouds, off of the home team bench, comes flying into our technical area. I used the phrase chinned at the time. I was probably slightly off the mark. That was in the heat of the moment, watching the game live. But he certainly shoves, pushes, raises his hands towards Rayner. Rayner ends up on the deck with Burgoyne on top of him with his hands on his neck, pinning him to the floor. And then all hell breaks loose, and there's absolute bedlam for a couple of minutes. Burgoyne goes, straight red card for his act towards Paul Rayner. But for me, Paul Rayner shouldn't be sent off. And I know everyone has their opinions on Paul Rayner and Steve Evans. There's a lot of vitriol towards them both on Twitter at the weekend, which is quite funny, because if it was the team and the staff of these fans that are thinking it's funny, they'd be crying wolf and shouting out for suspensions and fines and everything. But I'm not sure why Paul Rayner's been sent off. He's been shoved to the floor at best, held down, all for telling the referee to do his job properly. And then we've only played 4.5, 5 minutes of the 6 injury time, I think it is. Referee blows the final whistle. Why? You've got to add on the time. You've got to play the allotted time. I'm not saying that's the reason we lost, but to me it looked like the official had lost the plot, lost control, so decided to blow up early to save any further aggro for anyone. A sad ending to the game. Summed up our afternoon, unfortunately. I was on the coach at 9 o'clock, got home at 10:30. The joys of following Gills away, we'll call it. And then to top it off, we got to the services at Toddington South on the way back, and there was no hot food. So it was crisps and a Ribena for dinner. So that just topped off the day. Such is life. On to best Shrewsbury Town player. And for me, I'm going to go for the teenager who got just over an hour, and that was Tom Bloxham. Thought he was very bright. Obviously scores a very, very good goal. I think it's his first goal in senior football as well. So he's going to remember that for the rest of his life. Got 65 minutes, like I say, scored a goal. Played one key pass. I think he had 70% pass success rate, another shot on target. So he looks like he's going to be a good player if Steve Cotterill and Shrewsbury look after him, and he certainly had an impact on proceedings on Saturday afternoon. So for me, best Shrewsbury Town player goes to Tom Bloxham. In terms of Gills player ratings, it was all much of a muchness, unfortunately. Probably would have been a bit higher if we'd managed to get something, or at least a point, or held on for the 3 points. But such is life. When you lose, you tend to mark down a little bit. When you win, you tend to mark up a little bit. That's the way it goes. The cookie crumbles and all that. I went Jamie Cummins 6.5. Made a couple of decent stops. He's made one good save when he's had to rush out for the back pass. He's had no chance for 2 goals. 6.5. Across the back 4 that we started with. Back for 3. Reece Bennett 6.5. Max Amar 6.5. Jack Tucker 7 with the goal. Wing backs, Ryan Jackson 7. Thought he was very, very good. He was the outlet, he was the pace, he was the danger man in wide areas up until his injury. So 7 for Jacko and a 6.5 for Robbie McKenzie. Does exactly as he says on the tin. He was steady. Defensively, he was okay. But he's not a marauding wing back. In the middle of the park, I gave Daniel Phillips, Daniel Adseed and Carl Dempsey all 6.5. Thought Phillips was very good, but I'm taking half a point off because of the red card. Like I say, if it's for the tackle, it's the wrong decision. If it's for saying something or pushing someone or raising your hands, then it's daft, and you're silly giving the referee an opportunity to give you a second caution. So a trio of 6.5s in the middle of the park. Up front for Dane Oliver 6, clearly not fit, still tried his hardest, still ran his heart out, still won his headers. Had a couple of half chances, didn't he? Header probably should have hit the target in the first half, and it was one where he was stretching after a ricochet and lofted it over the bar. Mustafa Carriol, 6.5, slightly better than V for me, running in behind. Troubled their fullbacks when he drifted wide. But But yeah, much of a muchness. Substitutes I gave David Tatonda 6.5. I thought he was much improved on what we've seen. Ben Reeves a 6 and Danny Lloyd a 6. Final section is Gills Man of the Match, and I might get shot down in flames for this, but I'm going to go for the player that only played about 40 minutes, and that is Ryan Jackson. Purely because I thought we only realised after he went off how important he was to how well we were playing on Saturday. And like I've said over and over again, he provides width, he provides pace. It's got that long throw that's dangerous if you're into advanced areas in the final third. He was solid defensively. He was linking up with players. He was linking up with Daniel Phillips, Daniel Adseed, getting possession, giving back to them, keeping us ticking over. And what he was doing was pushing them back as well. And it allowed us to play the game in their half of the pitch. And then, like I say, when the substitution came because of his injury, no disrespect to Robbie McKenzie, but he's not the same type of wing-back or the same type of full-back as Jacko. So it meant that outlet on the right-hand side suddenly disappeared. McKenzie tends to play the game with everything in front of him, doesn't take so many risks, which is fine. You need players like that. You can't all be the same. But for me, yeah, the game changed a little bit, or quite a lot actually, on Ryan Jackson's injury when he went off. I think if he'd stayed on, we'd have probably won the football match. So for me, slightly strange one, slightly left field. Shoot me down in flames if you want, that's absolutely fine. But my Gills Man of the match was Ryan Jackson. Right, that is it for another Monday review. Sad to report that it was a defeat at the weekend against the side that was bottom before kick-off. But we have to dust ourselves off. We have no game this Tuesday. We have no game this Saturday. Charlton was the next league fixture at the Priestfield on the 4th of September, but it has been postponed due to international call-ups. No real bad thing for me looking at the injury situation. Like I've said throughout this video, on previous videos, in tweets, on Facebook, we've got people that are clearly not fit. We've got people that are having to play. I've said 100 times, and I'll say it again, unless we get people in, Verdane Oliver will get flogged to death and we won't get the best out of the big man, which is sad to see. There was talk, there was a chairman's chat, and the big thing that I took out of it, the only thing I took out of it in fairness, was the fact that Steve Evans said the chairman has sanctioned at least a couple of signings to come in between now and the end of the window, which is Tuesday evening. I know social media, Twitter particularly, was awash with the name Armando Dobra on loan from Ipswich over the weekend. It has been confirmed, I think, in the East Anglian Times that he will be going out on loan. We were interested in Wimbledon in League One, and I think it was Salford and Leyton Orient in League Two. So fingers crossed we can get him. Plays either side. We need natural width. We've got to get back to the 4-2-3-1 for me to get the best out of Verdane Oliver. He doesn't look quite the same player in a 4-4-2 diamond when we're so narrow, especially when your pacey wing-backs and full-backs are injured like Ryan Jackson. Another name that I saw was going out on loan over the weekend was a young lad from Millwall called Isaac Olaofe. He is centre forward, and he was on loan at Sutton United in the National League last season and scored 14 goals in 37 appearances as they won the National League title. Millwall have confirmed that he will be sent out on loan as well before the end of the window. So I'd be interested to see if we are one of the clubs that's in for him. Geographically, it would make sense, like Dobra. Certainly the type of forward we need, bit quicker, bit more in behind, bit nippier to the two that we currently have in John Akindi and big Verdane Oliver. So be interesting to see. I know Steve Evans said we've been talking to 3 clubs regarding 2 strikers and a winger. So Dobra Olaofe would be a striker and a winger. No idea who the other one is. And this isn't in the know information. This is just stuff I've read and stuff that I've found out on the internet by doing a little bit of research and a bit of digging. Right, if you're off, enjoy the rest of your bank holiday Monday. If you're at work, sorry. Third tier has been delayed until Tuesday evening this week due to work and family commitments, but we will be back at the usual time, just a day later, talking about everything League One that happened over the weekend, every goal, every miss, every key talking point. That is it from me today. You know where we are. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. I'll see you later in the week. But until next time, up the Gills.